Peace, 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 peace. And welcome to Coffee Talk Podcast. This is the Cultural Variety Podcast Show. And I am your host, MISHUMA Saba M. Saba. And this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. Let me do this because I can hear an echo and I know why. It's because I got my fan going. Give me one moment. All righty. How y'all doing today? And welcome to the show, Coffee Talk Podcast. This is our sports edition, our Wednesday night sports edition. And we have a great show in store for you tonight. Yes, we do. Tonight, man, we're gonna go back, man. How far are we gonna go back? How far back? Way back. Excuse me, man. I'm just feeling good, and I just got a good joy about myself today. And I'm just feeling good, y'all. And may you also be feeling jubilant. I'm gonna use a big word for y'all, jubilant. But welcome to the show, Coffee Talk Podcast, and tonight is our sports night. And a lot of people like to pop in on Wednesday night, so I'm happy to have you here. It's Wednesday night. And we're going to just get ready to dive on in, man. If you're a returner, visitor to our podcast, you know how we roll. We never begin our show without giving you the wise words as well as tonight's flavor before we actually begin to talk and give props to our people. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what Coffee Talk is all about, man. Wednesday nights, we like to give props to our athletes, man, and anybody that has to deal with the world of sports. Give me one moment, because I just got out the shower, and you know how the water precipitates all on your face, forehead, make me look like I'm sweating. Don't worry, I got my towel right here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So tonight's flavor here on Coffee Talk Podcast, tonight's flavor is Kenyan coffee. Why Kenyan coffee? Because it's for its black currant aroma and its caramelized flavor. That's why tonight's flavor is Kenyan coffee, because of its aroma, its black currant aroma and caramelized flavor. That gives it that nice taste and that nice aroma. So yeah, Kenyan coffee tonight, y'all, for Coffee Talk Podcast. All right, and the wise words for tonight come from no other than a pioneer, a legend. Some people don't like this man. He was like the Suge Knight of boxing. You know what I'm saying? But let me say this on his behalf. This man made a lot of people rich, man. And we also had a past episode on this guy. But tonight's wise words comes from no other than legendary promoter and giant, Mr. Don King. And Mr. Don King's wise words is this. Mr. Don King says, Machiavelli taught me it was better to be feared than loved. Because if you are loved, there's a sense you might be weak. I am a man of the people and I help them. But it is important to do so through strength. That is Mr. Don King. Let's read that wise word back again. The wise words for Coffee Talk tonight is Mr. Don King, legendary promoter. And he says, Machiavelli taught me it was better to be feared than loved. Because if you are loved, there's a sense you might be weak. And I am a man of the people, and I help them. But it is important to do so through strength. Mr. Don King. All right, so let's go ahead and dive on into it, man. Here at Coffee Talk Podcast on Sports Night, man, we like to go ahead and just reflect and give our props to two legends that impacted the world of sports. And it's no other than legendary U.S. track and field athlete, legend, Mr. Carl Lewis. So tonight we're going to be giving honor to Mr. Carl Lewis, as well as another boxing promoter. Let's talk about Mr. Carl Lewis. Mr. Carl Lewis was born July 1st in Birmingham, Alabama. Carl Lewis dominated in the 100 meters, the 200 meters, the long jump, and the 4x100 relay. Carl Lewis dominated these areas. Carl Lewis dominated the 1984 Olympics. He dominated the 1988 Seoul, Korea Olympics. He dominated the 1992 Barcelona Olympics. And he took home a silver in the 1996 Atlanta Games here in the United States. Carl Lewis, back in the 80s, set the record in the 200 meters with a 19.88 seconds of the 200 meters. This at the time was the third fastest time. Currently it's the third fastest time, but at the time when he ran that 19.8 in 200 meters, that was an Olympic record. Carl Lewis always stated that, especially in the 84 Olympic Games, that he wanted to match Jesse Owens' record of winning 4 gold medals in the same events as Jesse Owens in one single Olympic. Carl Lewis wanted to do this. He wanted to match that great ancestor of ours and track athlete Jesse Owens. Carl Lewis did that by winning 4 gold medals in 4 different events at one Olympics. Carl Lewis went through issues when it came to his endorsement deals and his popularity. People like former track stars like Ed Moses, the great Ed Moses, didn't like the swagger of Carl Lewis. One of the incidents why is because during the Olympic Games, Carl Lewis was in the event of long jump. He went ahead and did a jump of 29 feet. Very long jump, great jump. And that jump, that first jump solidified the gold medal. It solidified the long jump contest. The guy that went after him couldn't touch him, that finished silver. Carl Lewis had 3 more attempts other than that first attempt, because you had 4 attempts to do the long jump. He did it. He broke his record, or he set the bar, I should say, on his first jump. There was a commercial overhead from the great track star Bob Beamon. Bob Beamon had a commercial that said, go ahead, champ. Go ahead, Carl Lewis. I want you to break the record. But for whatever reason, with 3 remaining jumps, and he already did a great jump for his first opportunity, he decided to not jump anymore because he felt like he proved enough. The track and field world and such athletes such as Edwin Moses took offense to this. They thought that Carl Lewis was too cocky. But on the flip side of that, during this time growing up in the 80s was about machoism versus how it is today in this era. So you had to be dominant all the time, especially in sports. Well, Carl Lewis had this laid-back persona about himself that some people would speculate if he was gay. Carl Lewis never did declare whether he was homosexual or heterosexual. That man didn't feel like it was no one's business. But what this did during that time period is it cost him endorsements, a lot of them. A lot of people started to shun away from Carl Lewis because they didn't know if his masculinity, or less than, as they thought, would reflect good for their product. So this was a damage to Carl Lewis. Carl Lewis set off well, though. At 6'2", slender build, legend in track. He now has a net worth of $16 million. And he speaks all over the country. This is Mr. Carl Lewis, one of our greatest track stars of all time. We salute you here at Coffee Talk Podcast. And thank you for being an inspiration to our young athletes of today. Thank you, Mr. Carl Lewis. We salute you here. All right, next, we're going to go ahead and talk about one of the greatest boxing promoters, a brother that was definitely a humanitarian, definitely a great spokesman for people, a fair businessman. I don't want to say fair because fair to me is such a calming word when we discuss business. Either you are a good businessman or you're not. Tonight, we want to go ahead and discuss this great boxer, this great person. He goes by the name of the legendary boxing promoter, Mr. Butch Lewis. Mr. Butch Lewis was born in 1946, and he went to the Essence in 2011. He was born on June 26 in Woodbury, New Jersey, but he was raised in Philadelphia. Mr. Butch Lewis was a fascinating man. Every time you would see Mr. Butch Lewis, especially in the boxing ring, he had on a nice suit vest with the arms cut off. He was the first brother doing that. Today, in this era, you now see brothers rock their suit vests without sleeves. He was the originator of that. That's Mr. Butch Lewis. Mr. Butch Lewis was known for managing Leon and Michael Spinks, two guys that would go on to both hold heavyweight championship belts. Mr. Butch Lewis inked a deal for Michael Spinks that would bring him in $13.5 million for a fight against Mike Tyson in 1988. Well, if you know the backstory of that fight, Mr. Butch Lewis inked that deal again of $13.5 million to who? Michael Spinks. And how long did that fight last against Mike Tyson? About 40 seconds, first round. However, Michael Spinks walked out of there not so much defeated. Yeah, he lost a fight to Mike Tyson. He didn't get brutally beat up. Some even say he took a fall. But how far did he fall when you landed on $13.5 million in one round? Was he smart? Leave a comment. Let us know. Was Leon Spinks smart for falling down or taking a knockout in the first round back in 1988 against Mike Tyson and collecting $13.5 million for a total of what, a 3-minute round, less than a minute. Let me know what your thoughts on that. Leave a comment, hit the like button, share the video, and tell your friend Coffee Talk is on right now. Tune in. Yes, Mr. Butch Lewis also was a co-promoter of a lot of Muhammad Ali's fights back in the 70s, including the fight when Muhammad Ali stunningly lost to Leon Spinks. Butch Lewis was honored in 2004 by South African President Nelson Mandela for the highest humanitarian award in South Africa. Why? Because Butch Lewis, this boxing promoter, he led a boycott against apartheid. You see that picture up there of Mr. Butch Lewis looking fabulous with the jewelry shining, no shirt on. Some of you would think he was looking funny. Some of you would not know that that man was a spokesman speaking out, leading boycotts against apartheid. And that's why he's one of our heroes. And that's why we go ahead and salute him. Never judge a book by its cover is one of the messages I want you to take today on the Good Show Coffee Talk podcast. Tonight, we give honor to Mr. Carl Lewis, track star, and Mr. Butch Lewis, legendary boxing promoter and manager of Leon and Michael Spinks. This is Coffee Talk Podcast, our Wednesday night sports edition. I am your host, MISHUMA Saba, M. Saba, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to our Wednesday night sports. Go ahead and leave a comment. Go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and donate also, so that'll help with more equipment, more platform time, more guests right here at Coffee Talk Podcast. If you are interested in sending a donation over, you can definitely go to PayPal or Cash App and send to the $ MISHUMA Saba 7. That's MISHUMA, MISHUMAASABA 7. That's MISHUMA Saba 7 with the $. Go ahead and donate, man. Go ahead and support black businesses. We're going to continue to bring you the flavor. You already know that. Until we see each other again, I'm going to hit you with the universal peace sign, and I'm going to say thank you for supporting the show. We out of here. Coffee Talk Podcast, the realest podcast out right now. Who brings you the flavor, baby? Peace.
Audio Jungle.
Welcome to Coffee Talk. I am your host, MISHUMA Saba, M. Saba, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. Stay tuned.